Welcome back to the Bitcoin Masterclass series, and this is episode 4. The first 3 episodes, we looked at Bitcoin as a networking technology, the underlying users and how they're actually using Bitcoin and how we can track that monetary sentiment to understand the price action cycles that we see a little bit better. And in episode 3, we looked at external sources of data from miners and derivatives traders, etc., and how we could put all of them together to try and understand Bitcoin's price and network health a little bit better. But in these next 3 episodes, we're going to be taking things a little bit further. We're going to be looking at some more complex and specialized data points, and we're going to be seeing how we can look for confluence not just from Bitcoin data but from other macroeconomic sources, and how we can put all of these together, try and really paint a clear picture of Bitcoin and where it may be in its cycle. So first and foremost, we're going to be looking at some more technical factors influencing the Bitcoin price action, and we're going to start with the golden ratio multipliers. So first and foremost, we'll start with this orange line here. Now this is going to be more technical analysis focused. So previously looking at the on-chain data gave us some underlying true insights into the health and usage of the Bitcoin network, not just from the users, like we said, but from the miners as well. But technical analysis looks more so at the price action that we're seeing. We're looking at the human psychology of those more actively buying and selling Bitcoin. And one of the great metrics to start with is this 350-day moving average on the golden ratio multiplier. Now, this is almost a 1-year average, a 1-year rolling moving average of the Bitcoin price action. So if we aggregated the previous 350 days of price and divided that by 350, we would get the 350-day moving average. Now what we can see, this has been an incredibly accurate determining line on bull or bear markets for Bitcoin. When price is above this, it typically stays above this for extended periods of time, and the same is true for the downside. Once we cross beneath this, we usually spend some time beneath it. Now, when we're looking at metrics like this, we're trying to identify points of support and resistance. We're trying to, like I said, look into the psychology of traders and investors on the network to see where may be points of interest for these traders. So we can see when we actually reach this price, if we're above it, we typically actually see bounces back from this level. People will be aware that one Bitcoin is above this price level. It's usually because we're in a bull market. We're expecting price to continue increasing. But eventually, we convincingly cross beneath this. And this usually signifies the start of a bear cycle, when Bitcoin's going to have more extended periods of downwards price action. Now, what we see is when the price actually comes up to this, it acts as a moving level of resistance. People see this level, they see that the Bitcoin price has bounced, and they usually use this opportunity to take profit, which they didn't do at higher prices, or maybe further short Bitcoin to try and gain some profit if further downside moves. Now, doing this type of technical analysis isn't necessary if you're a long-term investor. You may be looking to try and tweak your purchases a little bit more precisely. These are more for people who are more active in the market. But what we can do is taking this golden ratio multiplier a step further is look at a mathematical sequence, which may sound a little out there, looking at a moving average and how we can take a mathematical sequence from that. But if we look at the Fibonacci sequence, which is the 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, you're aggregating the previous 2 values to find the next one. We can see this is actually a pretty common occurrence in trading and investing when doing this type of technical analysis. If we add on all of these points, what it does is actually give some insights into the previous topping points of the Bitcoin price action cycles. So in this first cycle, we actually hit this 21 multiplier line up here. In the next cycle, we didn't quite reach that. We hit the 13. In the next cycle, we hit the 8, etc. All the way through the Bitcoin price action cycles. A very accurate metric to be looking towards to gain some insights on the technical factors influencing Bitcoin. But we also need to acknowledge that all of the data we've looked at so far has been looking at Bitcoin on a chart that looks exactly like this one, looking at Bitcoin's price action on a daily basis. But we're not just looking for confluence across data points and different lenses of metrics. If we actually get confluence throughout different time frames, this can give us a whole new way to analyze the Bitcoin market. This is looking at Bitcoin on a weekly basis. Rather than every single data point being one day, we're taking just the weekly prices. So what we can do is, once we get the average weekly price of the previous 200 weeks, so nearly 4 years of data. And keep in mind, the 4-year point of Bitcoin is very influential given the fact that we have this halving event occurring every 4 years. So once we apply this 200 weekly moving average, we can see it's been an incredibly accurate point of accumulation and bear market lows throughout the entire history of Bitcoin. So if we can do this type of analysis on Bitcoin looking across multiple time frames, we're trying to gain the insights of traders who are looking at every different tool influencing Bitcoin. It's almost a self-fulfilling prophecy. If enough people are taking action based on the 350-day moving average, then it's something that we should also take into consideration as well. But not everyone's going to be looking at this. Lots of people are going to be looking at something like the 200 weekly moving average to try and accumulate when the price is at or beneath this level. So we need to look at Bitcoin's price action through multiple different time frame lenses as well. But if we go back to more on-chain data point focused metrics, we have something like this, the price forecast tool. Now, these are looking at different on-chain valuation methods for Bitcoin. Again, we've been looking mainly at reactive methods of looking at where Bitcoin may be in a price cycle, but there are ways that we can predict a little bit as well. Now, I'd always recommend reacting rather than predicting, even though Bitcoin in this most recent cycle, for example, didn't reach these upper levels which have historically marked Bitcoin bull cycle peaks. If other metrics, if the coin days destroyed, if the funding rates, if the spend output profit ratio, for example, we're all saying that we're getting to overheated levels, don't rely on static values. Don't say, I'm not going to sell until we reach this moving average or this multiple. It's much better to react to the underlying supply and demand economics of the Bitcoin data rather than predict. However, in saying that, for bottom calling metrics, nothing has been more accurate than these two, the CVDD and the balanced price. Now, these are a little bit complex to explain in a more short masterclass video, so I definitely recommend going beneath this and checking them out. Or we have a video here explaining how these are actually formulated if you prefer it in video form. But what we can do is take this a step further. The Cycle Master aggregates all of the data points from the price forecast tools to, again, give us some good insight onto where Bitcoin may be in the cycle and try and gain a valuation point of the Bitcoin price action. So once we aggregate all of these on-chain data price tools, we get the Cycle Master. And if I just zoom in, we can see we have overvalued, which is the upper red, aggressively, fair, under, and cycle low values. And we can see Bitcoin respects these levels incredibly accurately. They are one of the most accurate points of support and resistance throughout the Bitcoin cycles. And we can see in the most recent cycle, for example, Bitcoin bounced off the cycle lows almost to the dollar, found some resistance at this undervalue before turning it into support. And this is something you see quite commonly when doing this type of technical analysis. You'll see price test a level, get rejected from it, and then move up. And if we test it multiple times as price is moving higher, then it really cements that this is a level that lots of traders and investors are watching, and it's likely going to be very influential on the Bitcoin price action. So this is another one of the great tools we have on site to actually gain some insights on where the Bitcoin price action may be going. And alongside this, like I said, it's good to be reactive. We'll look at some more advanced on-chain data points. So previously we covered the realized price, which is the average accumulation price or cost basis for all market participants. And we looked at the hodl waves, which is looking at the percentage of Bitcoin held by different age bands on the network. But we can actually combine these two to get the realized cap hodl waves. What this is doing is looking at the influence of different age bands on the realized price. Because like we can see, as Bitcoin's price is rapidly accelerating to the upside, we usually see more and more new market participants coming into the market. And they're usually paying significantly more for their Bitcoin than those who got into Bitcoin many, many months or years ago. So we see the realized price accelerate very, very rapidly because the average accumulation price for Bitcoin is moving up much higher. But if we look at who's actually buying the Bitcoin at those prices, this is where the realized cap hodl waves gives us unparalleled insights into this. If, for example, I remove everything apart from the, say, 1 month and below, like we looked at previously, again, we can see that these spike considerably to the upside with a greater degree of accuracy than just the standard hodl waves to indicate lots of new capital is flowing into the market and we're likely getting to overheated conditions. If, for example, I do the same on just the standard hodl waves, it indicates that, yes, more people are coming into the market, but this really outlines that they're paying significantly more for their Bitcoin than those who are just coming in or have been in for a long period of time. And finally, we'll look at the value days destroyed multiple. Again, another one of my favorite metrics to look at. This is looking at the coin days destroyed, something we looked at previously in episode 2, but it's taking it a step further because what we're doing is looking at the USD valuation of those coin days destroyed rather than just looking at how much Bitcoin has been moved. If we look at the USD valuation of that and then get a 30-day average of that divided by a 365-day, it almost gives us a rolling point of the increased or decreased level of profit taking and distribution on the network. So, for example, when we have huge spikes to the upside on this level, when it goes very much to these red regions, it indicates pretty much local or even market cycle peaks, because the amount of distribution we've seen over the past month is significantly higher in US dollar terms than the previous year. And again, on the contrary, once we see a very, very diminished amount of profit taking and distribution from these long-term holders, and lots of Bitcoin being sold at losses, so there's very, very little actual realized profit on the value days destroyed metric, then again, it gives us these green accumulation areas for the Bitcoin price action. So that's definitely something I'd take into consideration when doing my analysis as well. But just very quickly before we end this episode, I mentioned previously that if you are a site subscriber, not only do you get access to all of the amazing charts we have, but you get access to TradingView indicators as well. So very quickly, what I'll do is I'll scroll down and show you the Bitcoin Magazine Pro TradingView indicators that you'll have access to. And if you're not aware of TradingView, it's a great free platform to actually look at the Bitcoin price action and actually be able to interact with these charts a little bit as well. So once you're a site subscriber, you get access to all of these invite-only metrics to actually gain access to a lot of the on-chain data points that are available on the Bitcoin Magazine Pro website, but now you can use them on Bitcoin Magazine Pro as well. And what you can do is, if you scroll in, if this is something you haven't done before, you can change time frame. So for example, right now I'm on the daily time frame, so it looks very similar, especially if I do this, to something that you'd see on the website. If I go to this time frame, for example, this is the weekly chart. So it looks very, very different. It's a much smoother line. There's not as much resolution. There's not as much data. And as I outlined in episode 1, this is a logarithmic scale. If I turn it to a linear scale, as you can see here, where the y-axis is not going up in base 10, it's going up on just a base 1 linear scale, then again, it gives us some insights into the more bubbly nature of Bitcoin and other markets. But if I go back to this, just very quickly to explain what this chart is actually showing us, these are candlesticks. Everything you'll see on Bitcoin Magazine Pro is based on the closing price of Bitcoin. So every single point you see on the chart is the price that Bitcoin closed at on that day. But if you go onto TradingView, it gives us something a little bit extra. It gives us these candles. So if I just draw a candle, for example, like this, what we can see is it gives us 4 pieces of data. It gives us the opening price, which is the bottom of a green candle, or on a red candle, which indicated that the price went down on that day, it's the top. And then it gives us the closing price, which on a green candle, again, is this upper point of price action, or on a red candle, it's the lower point of price action because price decreased during that day. And it gives us the low of the price because, again, that gives us a wick, as they're called, which shows us how low the price went on that day. And it gives us the high, which is how high, the highest point that price went on that day. And from this, you can gain a few additional points of insight, because you can really see if, for example, that there's lots of lower wicks to the downside here, then many people are interested in buying as Bitcoin goes into these levels. The price wasn't able to close beneath this point because lots of buy interest was coming into the market. And especially if you can combine this traditional technical analysis with the indicators that we can provide with the on-chain data from Bitcoin Magazine Pro, then it really puts you multiple steps ahead compared to a vast majority of those actually involved within the Bitcoin space. So I hope you enjoyed this episode, going a little bit more into the market cycles of Bitcoin, how we can analyze through different time frame lenses and use more advanced on-chain data points to gain some insights into where Bitcoin's price could be going in a more predictive method, and as well as that in a more reactive means to understanding Bitcoin's price action cycles and sentiment. In the next 2 episodes, we'll look at Bitcoin on a more intra-cycle lens, looking at more short-term metrics, and as well as that from a more macroeconomic lens, looking at the influencing factors outside of the pure Bitcoin ecosystem. So as always, thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.